Another webcam video with regards to this recent stuff going on with fake cell phone towers being found outside U.S. military bases and around some industrial and financial centers. I'm going to count Las Vegas in that because those are found around Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a financial center. Okay, it really is. There's a lot of business happens there. It's a financial center. Now, when you see a tower that has like a dozen or so cell repeaters or devices are about a foot wide by a meter or two long, depending on which model it is, that each one of those little units is called a cell tower, and they're owned by whichever companies put them up, and they're basically a moderately powered radio repeater that interacts with cell phones. And the reason there's so many of them is that different companies will rent different spaces on a single tower, and they nickname each one of those repeater devices to be their tower. So when they contract the installation of those, you might see up to a dozen on a single actual pole. Each one of those things is kind of called a tower by the cell phone company that owns it. What's been happening is some secretive group has managed to get several of those installed that are not owned by a cell phone company. So what happens is somebody's putting one of those tower up, a local contractor puts a tower up, they rent space on those towers, and a power company, they sublet space on those towers to different cell phone companies. Each company puts up its own towers on there, and they may put 3 or 4 facing in different directions. Somebody's been subcontracting to put those things up in such a way that it originally looked like just another cell phone company subcontractor, and it's not the entire tower but one of the units on a tower that is being used as an intercept device for communication. They are working entirely differently from the NSA stuff. Now, when I go on to the Alex Jones channel, okay, yeah, I watch it, okay, I find out what's going on. I see a British guy telling me that it's the NSA and that I should be angry at the NSA for spying on me. I should be angry at the U.S. government for doing this. I should be angry at the U.S. government for spying on U.S. military bases. Okay, what's wrong with that fucking picture? The U.S. government already knows what's going on U.S. military bases. If they need to monitor it, they just simply flip a switch at the NSA. They don't need to put in an extra cell phone tower to rob communications from a U.S. military base, okay? That's called, somebody calls the commander calls somebody, and he says, hey, what's going on with such and such and stuff? They run those bases. They don't need to spy on them. They got enough people in there that are supposed to be informing them what's going on. So when I see a British accent guy telling me that it's the NSA illegally spying on a U.S. military base, I'm calling bullshit. In fact, as much as I see chatter in the foreign press about this stuff, I'm beginning to think hostile foreign power. I'm beginning to think a well-funded hostile foreign power has decided to play against hardball against the American people. Now, I've heard rumors that the Saudi government operates several facilities in the United States where they subcontract a lot of private investigators, they subcontract a lot of people who don't even realize who they're working for, and in many cases those people are given fake identities to impersonate federal agents. When you realize there are foreign governments who are capable of doing that, I don't know if I haven't seen one of these facilities personally. I do know that they're wealthy enough to do it. I know that they're capable of hiring the people who could do it. I know that there's other foreign governments who are wealthy enough and capable of hiring enough people to have a cell repeater put up, a spy device put up on towers. Once they learn the method for it, they may not even all be owned by the same people. There's apparently 17 of these. They cost a few grand each. It would cost a few grand to have it installed, and it could be operating for years before anybody figures out that it's not actually owned by a cell phone company. Now, supposedly one of the ways you can figure that out is that if you have a 4G phone and you're on the internet and there's an intercept taking place, your system will start performing like shit. And that's how you know, okay, somebody's turned this thing on. The NSA doesn't need to do that. They simply flip a switch to get all that stuff. So I'm going to have to assert it's not the NSA. If somebody wants to tell me that there is not a foreign government anywhere in the world that's willing to spy on the American people for any reason at all, I'm calling bullshit on that. Now, who has the money to afford to invest in that? That's where the list gets smaller, okay? It's probably not Malaysia, it's probably not Indonesia, it's probably not Luxembourg, okay? We're going to look at some players that have an interest in spying on U.S. military bases and probably selling that information to third-party people. I've heard that the French have been caught numerous times selling U.S. military information to Middle Eastern interests. Okay, that's the conduit. That's been figured out by American intelligence people, that the French have been the conduit by which information flows, spied information flows from NATO and U.S. military stuff to the Middle East. And a lot of times it goes to Iran or Saudi Arabia or Jordan and then gets distributed from there to whichever jihadi groups one of those countries is actually sponsoring, even though they may openly deny it. The other thing, of course, is the Pakistani ISI, which is not a punk breed, incapable spy organization. They actually do have capabilities. They have people who speak English. They have people who look very American. They have people who grew up here. The Pakistani ISI is capable of doing this on their own. The Pakistani ISI has been caught acting in a very hostile manner toward American interests in Afghanistan and the Middle East, generally in their part of the world. But they're the people who jailed the guy who told America who told the U.S. forces where Osama bin Laden was hiding. Okay, Pakistani ISI is capable of this sort of thing. They are not stupid. They are not a bunch of rock chuckers. Anyway. I'm not going to call bullshit on Alex Jones himself, but I can say this British guy who just wants to tell us it was the NSA, we should go and riot or protest against the NSA. They already have that stuff, dude. You're full of shit. You're caught. You're busted. Okay? Especially when I got to hear from a European that, it was the U.S. government spying on their own military bases. No, it's not, man. Okay? It's interesting because I've heard people talk about, World War III, World War IV, the world versus the U.S. Well, it seems like somebody's gone through a lot of trouble to spy on our military bases right now. And it's interesting that maybe there's a reason why all the anger and recriminations over the U.S. government spying on so-called allied military allied governments was, they kind of got quiet after a while, didn't it? Maybe it's because somebody knew this kind of thing was going on. They just couldn't prove it. Now, we can prove that it's going on, we just can't prove who's doing it. Kind of interesting. Anyway, no, I'm not calling this the NSA. And when we start seeing foreign source journalists saying that it's the NSA, come on, man. Who's going to talk next? RT America? Yeah.